Holy moly, it's been quite a little bit, guys. What's going on? It's your boy FP, or Limes for me, I guess is what I've named this channel. And I'm back. I have a new map. A new map for a new game mode. Never seen before. This is my take on a 4-team domination map. And I kind of want to explain, like, there's a lot of, like, preamble to how I got to this point of, like, this map. Because I've had the idea for this map for a while. Or maybe not, like, this map specifically, but, like, a 4-team dom map that you'll notice at the bottom of the HUD, there's only 2 points. Let's talk about that. I just put a backslash. My bad. So, normally in 4-team dom maps, a common philosophy for level design dictates that you would want to have 4 points, right? Because in theory, that's 1 for each team. That's kind of how Hydro does it, where Hydro kind of splits up a big area into 4 distinct little sections, and each team has like their own little yard area that they fight over and defend. So in that kind of sense, you hold your own area while trying to take other people's areas. But what kind of ends up happening is that, like, the team that doesn't have their area fucked with at all oftentimes ends up winning. And usually, I can't remember which team it is, but it's the team with, like, the big radar dish. I think it might be Red Team. I could be wrong. But I just know that, like, the team with the big satellite dish, radar dish thing, the team with that area usually ends up winning because they just don't get fucked with. Because they have, like, the most, not most, but in my experience, it's kind of awkward, like, get to their routes. So my thesis for, like, a 4-team dom map was, okay, well, why don't we take the number of points we have and we, like, reduce them? There's actually been a couple of maps that have, like, tried doing this, but oftentimes they kind of, like, resort to 3, because 3 points is kind of like, you know, it's 1 less than 4. That way there's always at least one team, assuming every team owns a point, there's always going to be one team, like, constantly stirring the pot, making action happen. And then I kind of started thinking, well, we could technically go lower if you think about it, because also in 2.2, the total domination mechanic has been introduced. And if you think about it, most of the time that a total domination happens in these kind of game modes, usually it's happening for the winning team. Because in 4-team, the only team that's going to be able to do a total domination is the team that already has, like, 2 of the points, which is usually the team that's, like, winning. I've seen a total domination happen, I think, once, maybe twice on Hydro, and both times it was, like, the winning team. So no points would, like, come from the comeback mechanic. This is before the comeback mechanic even existed anyways. But, you know, it's kind of like to the point of, well, what's the point in having a comeback mechanic if the only team that is able to make use of it is the team in first place already? That seems kind of counterintuitive. So my brain started racking itself and thinking, well, I don't want to do 4 points because that's too many. I still think 3 points is, like, a little too many, unless you put the points, like, pretty close together, but then the map isn't, like, spread out enough. And I can't do 1 point because then that's just Koth. It's like Koth, but instead of, like, having a timer, you count up the amount of points, which is different because, like, unlike in Koth, just touching the point stops people from getting points, which is kind of cool. But then I thought, why don't I make 2 points? And I stack them vertically. But you may notice, there's only 1 point in the map right now. I've been flying around this. I don't have cheats. I've been flying around this for however long, bouncing around it, going all crazy, and there's only 1 point. Where's the other point? Well, I'll tell you where the other point is. The other point is down here. You can't see it because it's underneath the water right now. There's water in this map, by the way. It's, like, right there. It's kind of pretty. But the other point is below this one, and the reason is because I want to do something really cool. So effectively, at the start of this match, there's only 1 point that's actually active. And once mid is capped once, then this beautiful thing happens called elevated transportation, or elevators, and we go all the way up to this upper area. These doors open up. Whoa, big sky dome. Wow, so crazy. And the second point begins to emerge from the bottom and takes the place of where the first point was. I had this concept because I wanted to think of an idea where, 1, in 4-team domination, the team that wins the mid-fight actually gets an advantage, i.e., they get to cap the point, they get to, like, move up in the world. 2, I wanted some kind of system that made it so that the map changed a little bit dynamically, so that way, as you played the map, it would feel like it kind of changed a little bit, so you wouldn't be fighting over the same area. This is something I feel kind of happens on domination maps already, is if you don't have some kind of like dynamic element, it can feel like you just keep going to the same point over and over again, and you fight in your own corner of the map. By blocking off half the map, it kind of makes it so that the map changes. In 3, I had this really cool idea to make a point transform its gameplay as it, like, moves. So, as you can see, the shape of this point is just a big, like, it's kind of like Koth Bagel, where it's just a big, like, cylinder, with a big pit beside it. The pit's actually really cool, but, oh my god, there's, like, a really, really loud fighter jet going out overhead. I'm getting bombed. The ops can't know my secrets. I don't know if my mic picked that up, that was so loud. But the point is now a bagel point, so instead of fighting on the point like you did when you were fighting for it on the lower area, now you're fighting around the point. A consequence of this is that the actual, like, texture for the point, like the trigger, I made it really fat, and so when the point is, like, down here on the outer wall, you can cap on the outside, because it just is an elevator thing, so it goes up and down. And also kind of a consequence of it is that when the elevator's going up, because it's like the domination game mode, if someone touches the wall while the elevator's going up and just holds here, the person on the elevator, like the team that caps it, doesn't get any points. So that's kind of a problem in the first version of this map. But the idea went over really well with people. People had a lot of fun on it. And the coolest thing is that a total domination actually happened on this map. There was a total dom. It was so hype. It was so cool. And the total dom happened like when they were at like 40 something points, so it was like a really big comeback clutch. It was so cool. It was really hype. It was really fun. It's like the most fun I've had in like any kind of like 4-team domination map, because I added a bunch of these really cool routes. So you can rotate from the top point to the bottom point with a little bit of health damage by dropping here. One thing that people did say is that the rounds are like a little short, because I only have you go to 50 points, which I didn't realize how quickly you would get 50 points. But the cool thing is that, like, it just felt really fun to play. It felt really good. It felt really awesome. I love the theme as well. I don't normally do a lot of theming in my blockouts. They're usually just very big amorphous shapes. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit so I can show something. Let's see, turn back on. So I'm kind of really surprised with myself that I was able to like make something that looks like really nice in a gray box. I don't normally go for like any kind of theming. It's kind of based on like it's like underwater facility kind of. It doesn't really come through because I don't have like any water or anything, but I made this all blue, so it kind of implies that. And also at the start of every round, the point like descends down in this really majestic way. Very cool, very cool, very awesome, very awesome. And one of the other things is that the entire like upstairs area is like blocked off by these doors, so you can't actually access it, and that means that like you're forced to go to the lower point first, so that way you actually fight over the lower point. It's really cool. It's really fun. Like I said though, one of the consequences is that one of the rounds we played, because this was already played in a playtest, one of the rounds that was played, the lower point wasn't capped for like a really long time, because one, the cap time is really long for this kind of mode, and two, because it's 4-team, to progress the cap yourself, you have to decap the point progress that some other team has, which effectively doubles the cap times. Like if the cap time's like 7 seconds, which it is right now, if the team gets on the point, caps for 6 seconds, then the next team has to cap for 6 seconds to uncap it, and then cap for another 7 seconds. That's like half the respawn time. So the people you killed are already like back to about here, about to break your shit in, not even counting the fact that the other teams are there. So that kind of process went on for a long time, and it didn't cause a stalemate, because like eventually someone will cap the point and then there'll be 2 objectives, but it was something I kind of had to keep in mind. And something like that is just very easily fixed by not having people be able to deny the cap by standing here, which I fixed in the next version. So let's look at that. So this is the second version. There's not really many major changes. It's all small stuff. The biggest ones are like clarity of game mode. So right here you see that the points are now stacked vertically on top of each other, so it's easier to tell which point is where. Spawn is now like symmetrical. I have a really cool idea for what I want spawn to be, but I'm not going to spoil it because it's a surprise. I'm not even going to spoil the secret on this map that's in the spawn. But now there's like ramps on each side, so it's easier to get up to the top floor. Speaking of easier, there's a lot of like options now to negate fall damage. I put this little ledge here so people don't have to take fall damage when they jump down. There are these crates here, but no one noticed them at all, which was kind of funny. I also put signage in some areas, and the coolest thing I did in this version, which you can see right here, is I made it so the point not only doesn't cap faster now, but it also has a different shape to it. So now, instead of having like a really fat base, now it's a little bit skinnier, but now the entire like trigger fits inside the cap zone. So now I don't have like the trigger sticking out of the elevator, and that's really cool. I actually have it like a little bit skinnier because for some reason on the first floor, whenever it would go up through the glass, you'd be able to stop the cap. So I made it a tiny bit smaller to hopefully get around that. And I also made this texture here so it's easier to see like both up and down through the glass, so you can like get an idea of what's going on each point. It's actually really helpful and useful. I kind of did it just for visuals, but it's really nice to like see at a glance like, oh, there's a bunch of people fighting up there, or oh, there's a bunch of people fighting here. It's very cool, very sick, very awesome. The other thing, okay, do I reload the map for this? Maybe. But the other thing is like with these gates, I did something really cool. Restart round. There we go. Well, I still have the control point. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna host timescale 20, so I just get all my points really quickly. I'm drowning. Oh, I can't move at this speed.
We got it.
Ooh, I'm winning so fast. I don't know why this is like the only way I can pick this. Let's see if the elevator's here. So yeah, so now you can see that I can't touch the point through the elevator at all. And also it's really obvious that this is the A point because there's a lot of A's up there. I also timed this. I tried to make sure I timed this so that you can't like squeeze underneath the point. I think as a precaution I need to make these like a little longer, but I don't think I will. But the coolest thing about this is now also these doors close back down whenever you're pushing up, so people can't like squeeze into the elevator and snipe your point from you. But the coolest thing that I love is I get an excuse to use Steel's doors. I get to use the door opening mechanism to time it so people can't get to the top and spam down through the gap. So now people are kind of like railroaded and stuck at these little doorways. And if you notice, because this is going to open like right about now, by the time I get up here, the team on the point gets about 7 points, and they'll be emerging from the pit, or like have already gotten the opportunity to get like up a staircase or something at that area, at that moment of time where you like emerge from the pit. These ones take like the longest because you get stuck on the stairs. I might make this one specifically move quicker, but it doesn't really matter. Most people don't like camp this doorway, but I mainly would want to make it like a little faster because this point, like if you're retreating down this doorway and then you get stuck because of the door frame not being up high enough, that kind of feels shitty. Not that that's ever happened, but it could happen in the future, and I don't want to ruin someone's game. I also added a window here just because it's cinematic. That's the only reason. But I'm really happy with this map. It's called Fishbowl. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's called Fishbowl. It's very cool. It's definitely one of the maps I think I'm the most proud of in like an A1. I'm really excited to like finish this one day. I've already started putting in some neat details like the water leaking from the dome into like a little drain. I think I put that on all of these corners. It's just really cool. It's like very fun. I'm having a good time. I love all the routing. I love how vertical the map is. I based this off Nucleus. I don't know if it's obvious, but I think it is. I think once people like stand right here, it's pretty obvious that this is heavily inspired from Nucleus. But it's got so much of its own flair and so much of its own personality that I think it's okay. I think the other thing that's really cool about this map that I didn't necessarily intend, I did intend it like as I was finishing A1, but not when I was making like this area, is that both of the points kind of have like a sort of, if you are a player who doesn't want to deal with like the cluster of the lower point, because the lower point has a lot going on, it's hard to like see everything going on until you get on top of the point, which is by design, right? Like I did that on purpose, you know, hi, I'm the level designer, I made it this way for a reason. I know, shocking. If you don't want to deal with the lower point, because like stuff that was happening on the lower point was like people would build level 3 sentries and then place them here, and it's kind of like a little surprise cheeky sentry, because like you overstep too much, you get lit up. It's actually a really good sentry spot, but I was using it mainly because it was good. Also, like people have their jump pads and stuff, like people are jump padding constantly up to the point, even from like weird angles and stuff. People, because I'll be honest, I didn't really bother clipping any of this stuff off, so if you see a place you want to go, you can probably go there. Like up here, you can just go up here. Is this a problem? Maybe. I don't know. Can I get myself some more metal? Nah, it's not a problem. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get mad that an engineer spent all of his time and resources getting up here just to place a sentry that doesn't even cover the point? Come on! Although that is really hard to see, I should probably put a light up there. But... oh yeah, and then there's there's this spot too, which classes can get to. I put a barrier here. I put like a little railing here so that it's less good, so NGs can't like build right on the edge. They have to build like a little bit behind, and that fixes it mostly. But it's all really awesome. But so if you don't want to deal with all that stuff on the lower point, like people constantly like funneling in from areas you can't see clearly, you go to the upper point, which is what a lot of people were referring to as jokingly like the MGE arena, because it's got a little piece of high ground, little pretty like direct pieces of high ground. I could definitely see like me just taking this like map here and making it into an MGE arena. I even made the dome a specific like size so that way it wouldn't get in the way of rocket jumps and stuff. Like it's all relative in terms of how it was designed. Oops, I spoiled the Easter egg. My bad. Don't look. But it's all really awesome in terms of its shape. It's just got like such a unique vibe, because like this upper point is so much brighter because it's like higher up in the sky, like it's much more washed out color, and down here it's much more warm colors. It's really cool. Like I'm really proud of this map. I love the aesthetic. I hope you guys do too. I'm gonna playtest this again this week on the alt-tab server. I may even do like my own playtest. Maybe they'll randomly find a server on TFTC running Dom Fishbowl, and it'll be named like My Chungus server. Maybe that's my server. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a friend server. Who knows? But I'm really happy with this. That is all. Bye bye.